On today's episode of the Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be answering one question from the Patreon. Lots of gems, lots of karate belts, lots of, hey dude, I don't need a ranking system. I talk with my hands. Let's get to it.
And every day, I practice martial arts.
Yo, Dre, how you doing, man?
Sifu.
How's everything? Good to see you again.
Forget about me. How are you?
I'm doing amazing.
I'm doing amazing, but how about you?
I'm still riding off of the excitement of them solving Tupac's murder.
Oh,
I have to
that
say,
was
that's
a great day, man.
That's the most exciting thing that's happened in my life recently.
Yes, definitely just that.
Just that.
Justice.
Yeah, I mean, finding out finally after 27 years what happened to Tupac.
Oh.
That day,
It's such a relief.
It's definitely the best thing that's
That was
happened
one
to
of
me
the
in a
best
while.
days.
Yes,
Yeah.
one of the best days.
Likewise.
Yeah, nothing else has gone on. So anyway, but it's cool. This is now our second episode we're recording since kind of back from Hong Kong. And since the whole Tupac thing. So this is great. It's great to see you again, man.
It's good to see you.
So before we get started, just want to remind all of you that the best way to support the Kung Fu Genius is on Patreon. Patreon.com/The Kung Fu Genius. For as little as $5 a month, you can get access to episodes early, as well as a bunch of other stuff that I throw on there that is just for our Patreons. It's also the way to fast track any questions because it is the only way to get your questions answered on the KFG podcast. Now, we only do Ask Me Anything episodes from questions from our Patreons. We no longer do Ask Me Anythings from YouTube. So, of course, our YouTube supporters can always comment and give us ideas for episodes,
That's
like
what's
topics.
That's what's
because,
up.
as I mentioned in the last few episodes, I
Ideas
want to
are
move
welcome.
away from just doing AMAs. I want to do more of these, like where we stick to one topic for the whole thing, whether it's, talking about
just
doing
wanna rant.
Chisao with Chan Chi Man, or
Yeah.
whether it's talking about whatever. Well, I think it's also just good to go into something like as a deep dive, right?
Deep.
And then I want to do these kind of Ask Me Anything episodes more like once a month.
Okay.
And those will be from our Patreons, but our YouTube followers can obviously always give me suggestions, but I'm not going to be doing any direct questions from YouTube anymore. But occasionally, like, our Patreons are so awesome. Sometimes they're ask me, like, I have like a pinned post on our Patreon page, which is like, here's where you list any questions you have for me. Those oftentimes are so good that, like, one of them can be a whole episode. And that's kind of what we're doing today. We got about I think we have two Patreon questions on the docket for today. So normally the Ask Me Anything episodes, I would do like maybe sometimes up to like 6 or 7 questions an episode. And now I'm more about like doing one really good one or 2 or 3 really good ones and going into it. And for the rest of the episodes for the month, we would stick to a topic or maybe do some interviews and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm super excited about that. So what you got for me, Dre?
All right, first off the bat, it's Topher 9K or 9,000.
All right, because 8,999 other Tophers were already taken.
No, they were already busy.
Yeah.
Hello, Sifu Alex.
What's up?
All right. I hope my NYC family is doing well. Recently, a question came up on the Wing Chun subreddit
I've never
page about the best way to show a student's rank, i.e. shirts or belts, innocent enough, right? Especially if someone is looking to implement this into a commercial school.
Right.
Well, as things go on the internet, as things go
the conversation devolved into a bucket of shit.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. It turned into several people laying into the old diatribe about let their hands show the skill.
Yo, bro, let my hand. If I punch you in the face, anything I say is right.
Right. And is a shirt going to improve their skills? Wow. Obviously, no. Wearing a fancy shirt does not make one's kung fu better.
Wait, since when?
Since when? What are you talking about?
However, the implementation of a ranking system can serve to provide a number of benefits, especially if someone is running a commercial school.
Right.
As someone who runs a commercial school, and comes from a lineage that has implemented such a system for decades, Could you speak on the benefits of having a ranking system?
That's a great
What the pros and cons are of ranking systems, and the more significant benefit they can serve the Wing Chun Kung Fu community, like developing an actual curriculum for learning.
Right.
Frankly, there is a great conversation to be had here on the longevity of Kung Fu, but let's save that for another time.
Sure.
Thank you, and I hope to see you all soon.
Awesome.
Love, especially to that handsome Brit, Topher.
Oh, you're making me
Beautiful.
blush over here. I miss you too, Topher.
Yeah. So great question by Topher. Longtime supporter of not just this podcast, but my previous podcast with Big Sean Madigan.
Yes,
he was one of our Patreons from back then. By the way, he has since started his own podcast.
Did not know.
I just feel bags. I don't remember
the name.
Do you know the name of Topher's podcast? Maybe you can look it up. All right.
Yes.
But yeah, he's got a podcast, so please support our boy Topher and his own endeavors.
Please do.
Yes, so really great question. So there's a lot to unpack there, and of course, having a conversation with other Wing Chun people online is a lot like trying to train cats to play the piano. It's just a waste of time.
What in the world?
Because the problem is you
I've actually had some success training a cat to play a piano.
The only problem is, with these kind of conversations, it's always dichotomous thinking. It's always black and white thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we look in terms of logical fallacies,
no shades of gray.
Like what are ways to actually do an argument wrong?
Mm-hmm.
All right, one of those is black and white thinking. All right, to think that, well, it's either good or bad to have a ranking system, right? And then you're either on this side of the fence or that side of the fence, right? And then the problem is that you're often talking with other Wing Chun people who are anonymous online. So you might as well just be, and talking to Wing Chun people in general is like talking to pod people, all right? These are not, for the most part, normal interlocutors when you're having conversations with them.
All right.
Most of the
biased.
most of the Wing Chun people that I can stand, and mind you, I teach Wing Chun, it's my job, okay? But most of the Wing Chun people I can stand are people who are also my friends, and I communicate with them regularly. And I'm talking from the other lineages, because from most of the people within my own lineage, I can't stand any of them, right? With a couple exceptions. Obviously, my Sifu, a couple Sihangs from Europe, a couple really great guys from Hong Kong, and of course, Sifu Carson Lau, and so on and so forth. But for the most part, most people within my own lineage, WT, they're pod people, all right? Like, these are
damn.
They're bordering on cultists if they were just a little more organized.
Must be
they need to be a little
frustrating.
They need to be a little more organized to reach the level of cult, but they're almost there.
Almost.
All right. And I find most conversations with WT people is like, and are like, it's like talking to pod people. Now, of course, there are lots of exceptions. People I'm friends with within the WT lineage, and whether it's in Europe or Asia or here in the States, but they're few and far between. And in the greater Wing Chun world, I sometimes find I can have a more decent conversation with some of the Wing Chun people outside of my lineage than within my own lineage. It's like things are like a little too close.
Okay.
And also I feel that when you talk to Wing Chun people from another lineage, because we have this long sordid history of shitty politics, I have a feeling like people are on their best behavior when they're hanging out with people from other lineages, because we have such a history of just throwing heaping bits of burning trash at each other through magazines or books or online, that usually when we meet face to face, everyone is like, everyone's a little bit more cordial. But within your own lineage, people tend to kind of be salty about stuff that, should be long forgotten or whatever, if it even matters to begin with. Damn. So, like deciding you're going to go on Reddit, which is a website I've been on twice in my entire life, and just have a discussion, right? Like, there's nothing to discuss with people who are allowed to be anonymous.
The funny times I find myself on Reddit is when I ask a question on Google, it sends me to Reddit.
Yes, that's the only time, because I don't have the app, or I don't. It's a Reddit website. Like I don't even properly know what it is. I just know sometimes I'll Google something and the first thing will come up will be Reddit, and I'll be like, oh, maybe there's an answer, and I'll click on it. And this shit asks me to download an app or to log on for read it. I'm like, no, and then I just go to the next thing, right?
The thing about Reddit, though, is like all steaming dumpster fires of like platforms, it actually is good if you know how to use it and what it is you're looking for and where to look. But when it comes to stuff like subreddits about whether it's bands or in this case like Wing Chun, like martial arts, right? Like what would be fantastically great questions from like people to have like normal discourse very quickly descends into just fucking idiocy.
A heaping pile of burning dog shit.
Yeah, just like so they're saying, oh yeah, bro, you know, your lineage, so you know,
let my hands talk for me, bro. I don't need a rank, bro.
Yo, come here and save that, my C phone. You're just like, yeah, but you're posting anonymously with
I know, with some ridiculous avatar under a fake name with the no real information.
3757.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah. I follow him on Instagram.
Yes.
That's a person.
I'm not even kidding.
That's a handle.
I'm not even kidding.
That
the
is
dude,
a handle.
I saw there was a guy I follow on Instagram named Viking Samurai.
Yeah.
And Viking, well, we were in Hong Kong, and I saw that. I was just looking at one of Viking Samurai's posts. And there was a comment by a guy, and Andrew, I mean, every time we say you're probably going to have to beep that out.
So can I say it 3 more times? So
No. maybe you will have to just put that person's handle underneath and maybe just black out part of it, but people can figure out what it is.
Sorry, Andrew, I'll do all of the editing of this audio for you. Save the time, because I keep saying
Jesus Christ. So anyway, I saw that a guy commented on Viking Samurai's, some post, and his handle was now the Kung Fu Genius. Okay, just so you know. All right, first of all, the Kung Fu Genius is a character I play, because you know me, like whenever I'm doing this podcast or whenever I'm being the Kung Fu Genius, it's a slightly amped up version of me. You know how chill I am, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like I always feel like
this is you on the Vicodin Samurai.
Exactly.
Level.
Is it Vicodin? I don't know.
he's not a Kung Fu Genius. He just plays one on TV.
I just play one on TV. I just play one on YouTube, right? It's just an amped up version of me. It's a slightly more assholey version of me, right?
Got it.
Right? Slightly more.
Slightly more.
It's slightly more. Yeah.
I love being
I'm 10% more of an asshole, right?
Likewise.
Than I normally am, right? But so I always feel like it's like when I refer to the Kung Fu Genius on Instagram, it's a bit of an alter ego, right? Except for like the reels that I do for like teaching, like on the subscription or whatever. For the most part, it's kind of just an amped up version of me. But anyway, the Kung Fu Genius on Instagram only follows 199 people. Okay, and that's just because I don't have a lot of time to consume social media, which. Sometimes people on YouTube get salty with me in the comments, like, yo, watch this video. Did you see this? Did you see that? And I'm like, or this Wing Chun guy, or this guy said this, or whatever. It's like, I literally don't watch. So I don't watch much Wing Chun on YouTube, almost none. If you pop into my YouTube, like if you go to my personal YouTube where I log in, and you look at the videos that are recommended to me by YouTube, you will not find
no Wing Chun
video recommended to me by YouTube, because I literally don't watch that stuff, because all the stuff that I really think is interesting, which is really on the Chinese side of YouTube, I've watched it all already.
Got it.
And most of the stuff that's on the Western side of YouTube, if there was anything interesting, I've seen it already. And there's not a lot of, in my opinion, new stuff coming out about Wing Chun where I go, I need to really see what this guy's take is. Because I don't really find that there's a lot of Wing Chun guys out there right now who are doing anything that I find really interesting.
And
because I think it's a cooler number.
Yeah.
200, it's like, 199, it's like, this guy really isn't, because I have like over 50K people following me, and KFG only follows 199. But the thing is, I swap out the 199 that I follow all the time. And so I'm always like this. I'll stop following some dude, and then I'm like, okay, I got another space.
Yes.
So that's the thing. If I get rid of one, I'll replace one, right? Sometimes I'll follow a celebrity, then I'll find them boring, and then I'll go to the next one, right? But anyway, on Viking Samurai, I saw someone named commented. And I said, I don't give a shit what he posts. I'm following. All right? So I had to go through while we were on the ferry going to Lama Island in Hong Kong for seafood, right? And I'm going through my Instagram going, who can I unfollow, right? And it's I don't know, some blue check celebrity that I don't really give a shit about or doesn't post anything interesting. All right, unfollow. All right? He's got photos of him like in trench coats, if I recall, with swords and shit.
Big frilly shirts.
Frilly shirts, like
Prince black shirt.
Seinfeld episode, frilly shirts.
Yeah, and he has really long hair.
And he's got really long hair and a beard.
Slightly overweight.
He's awesome.
He's amazing.
I love. All right, okay.
He's amazing.
Can I say that for the record? The Kung Fu Genius loves.
I gotta unfollow someone after this.
Yes, you gotta follow. All right, we gotta make Andrew.
I gotta make mad room for the big dick pussy stretcher.
Work, Andrew. All right. So anyway, he's one of the 199 now. Yeah. But I digest. So now let's get to this question. All right. So the problem is,
you need me to reread it?
No, I don't need to reread it. Although it's been so long, I feel the audience needs to have it reread because they're like, what was it?
It's under us.
It's about ranking systems in Wing Chun schools and whether we use belts or whatever.
It's been there.
Oh, it's right here, right? Okay.
Yeah, it's been there.
Yeah, although Andrew might be changing it as I keep changing topics, right? The KFG on question mark. That's going to be the name of it. That's going to be the name of this episode.
BDPS.
Yeah, that's going to be the name of this episode. Kung Fu Genius Podcast, episode 145 or whatever it is. Right?
It's going to be
so
great.
Anyway.
So if you're not local to NYC, one of the easiest ways for you to improve your Wing Chun training is to train online with me. Online private training is tailored toward the individual and geared towards serious practitioners who want to improve their skills or knowledge base. I offer 2 private lesson subscriptions, twice a month and 4 times a month. Kung Fu Genius listeners use the code KFG Online to get 1 online consultation lesson free with the purchase of any subscription. That code and the links are in the description below. Online private training is a convenient way for you to ask any of the questions you've had about application, form, theory, or even how to teach. Bring a partner to train with you online at absolutely no extra cost. I'll show you how to train with your partner online. Again, use the code KFG Online to get a free consultation lesson with the purchase of any online subscription. Links are in the description below, and I'll see you online.
So yeah, when it comes to ranking systems, okay, Chinese Kung Fu, they get really butthurt about this topic in a way where it's like, okay, dear Mr. Anonymous person online, please show me on this wooden dummy where a ranking system touched you. All right, okay, and please show me, okay. And then you know what they're gonna do, okay? Just show me on the wooden dummy where did the evil ranking system touch you, right? And they're gonna take out the bottom arm.
Oh no!
And they're gonna go around the back, and that's where it touched them. All right. No. So anyway,
ouch.
Kung Fu people don't need to be so butthurt about ranking systems because ranking systems didn't exist traditionally. Yo, in the old days, man, it was only the guy who could really do it who was like the top guy, right? And it doesn't matter what level you have, you're gonna walk around with your green belt with you punch you in the face, right? Like, I don't care what level you have. Like, Kung Fu's all about your achievement through hard work and And the problem is that this is people trying to have shit both ways, all right? Can we all agree that martial arts systems throughout the world right now, a fair number of them that are considered legit and, accepted by the mainstream have ranking systems?
I think we can agree on that.
Can we look, for example, at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu having a ranking system? Can we look at really hardcore strains of karate like Kyokushin karate having a ranking system?
Yes.
Even some Thai boxing schools, although it's obviously not a traditional part of Thai boxing.
Right.
But there's some
commercial... I had to earn shorts.
Yeah, there's some commercial Thai boxing schools that are very successful competitively, and within the 4 walls of their school, they use a ranking system for your experience or what you learned or how many fights you have or whatever. So the idea that the mere implementation of a ranking system axiomatically means that you have now watered down your system and now it's meaningless. Can we agree, because of the previous examples, BJJ, Kyokushin, certain Muay Thai schools, styles like judo, sambo, all right? They use them. Right. Can we agree that maybe a ranking system just by itself does not automatically mean that you have watered down your system. I mean, is it easy to get a black belt in Kyokushin? Is it easy to get a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? No.
Couldn't tell you.
All right. If you're going to get whatever top rank in, let's say, a Muay Thai gym that has that kind of rank, can we say probably would require you to work a little hard to maybe get that thing?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Yes. So we have to get out of this idea that, ranking system means that everything's watered down. Because if you look at the sorry state of Chinese martial arts around the world right now, I wouldn't say it was, with the exception of obviously some Wing Chun schools that have done well, some strains of Tai Chi that are very popular, or some other martial arts here and there, some Choi Lei Fut schools, some Hong Kong schools. But why would we then look at what Chinese Kung Fu has done to promote itself, especially in recent years, i.e. not having a ranking system, and then look at the sorry state that Chinese martial arts is in around the world and go, yeah, well, obviously it's so successful not having a ranking system. Just look at the sorry state of Chinese Kung Fu right now. Yeah, let's talk about how BJJ's watered down because they have belts. And Kung Fu is keeping it real because they don't, all right? Can we already see the problem here, all right? That, but of course it's always, but you're talking about the commercial Kung Fu schools. Like, I'm talking about my Sifu, he doesn't teach commercially. He teaches out of his basement. He's the real deal. And bro, he doesn't use ranking systems, bro.
That's right. He gives us a cup of coffee higher than the last.
That's right, yeah. We can drink a little more coffee every time we punch harder, bro, all right?
That's how we know.
And in our school, we let our hands talk, bro, all right? Your school's got 3 people, and when your Sifu retires, no one's going to take over, and your style's going to die. But keep it real. You know what I mean? We have to do a series like from Chappelle's show.
Yeah.
When Keep It Real goes wrong.
Goes wrong.
All right, okay? And look at the sorry-ass state of most Wing Chun and Kung Fu around the world, and you could put that in when keeping it real goes wrong, okay? All right? Now, I'm not saying that the solution to Wing Chun's ill... I'm just talking about my own shit for now, all right? Because the Choi Lei Fut people go, yo, Kung Fu G, why are you talking about Choi Lei Fut, all right? I can tell you about Choi Lei Fut right now. Okay, let's talk about Wing Chun, all right? Let's take a look at the sorry state of Wing Chun right now, all right? And they're keeping it real, talking with their hands.
Way real.
Way real, all right?
So real.
And look at where it's
even
at.
See it.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I'm from the Leung Ting system and they have a ranking. I'm not saying the Leung Ting system doesn't have its own problems, okay? But I'm talking about the community as a whole, all right? This is what happens when you don't standardize. Mm-hmm. This is what happens when there are no standards of qualifications for people who teach, okay? You get this. You get people who taught themselves forms off of YouTube thinking that they're colleagues with people who've been doing this shit for 40 years. Because, well, that dude who's been doing it for 40 years doesn't have a ranking system and he's walking around in beach shorts and a T-shirt, and so am I. So my take on Wing Chun must be on par with that guy's, okay? So we have multiple issues going on with this non-acceptance and this almost repulsion to a ranking system, which let's be clear on what this is. Let's take the thing that gets most Kung Fu people butthurt about ranking systems, which is, let's just say a colored belt. Let's take the idea that it's okay, some schools maybe wear different shirts or have a different uniform. Let's just make it about belts for now, okay? Because some Wing Chun people do have belts or sashes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But let's just make it a belt thing, all right? Thing. Not a uniform thing like we have in the WT system.
No, we're belting it out.
Let's make it a belt thing, all right? Why are Kung Fu people really getting butthurt about this? Because of an association with karate, something that they feel is beneath Wing Chun.
Interesting.
Okay? So on the whole, they're not looking at a ranking system on its merits. They're looking at it there's some personal shit there, okay? And there's a value judgment about karate or these Japanese or Okinawan styles with these belts being beneath the ultra sophisticated Wing Chun. And if you start wearing belts, you're kind of like just a karate guy, right?
Oh, wow.
So there's a little bit of that. And then, of course,
Not cool.
the reflexive thing is, well, a belt system is not traditionally part of Kung Fu a la Chinese culture, right? Chinese Sifus back in the day didn't award belts or sashes or whatever. Ergo, we should still not do that now. To which I come back to my previous argument. Look at the sorry state of Chinese martial arts right now. You're going to say, because in the past, they didn't have a ranking system, which, by the way, if you look at most Okinawan or Japanese systems originally, in the original, they also didn't have it. Coming up with a ranking system is something that developed over time and continues to develop over time in those systems. You know, what does it mean to be a black belt in karate? What does it mean to be a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? These are conversations that are still being had now because it's about standards. Okay? And when we take away the repulsion to belts because it reminds people of karate, which Wing Chun people think is beneath them, or if they say it's Japanese or it's Okinawan, it's not Chinese. Let's take away those surface level repulsions to ranking systems.
Okay.
And let's talk about what's really at stake here.
What is really at stake?
What is a ranking system but a standard? A standardization of, if you are wearing this belt, that means you got to be this good and know this much.
Okay.
Okay? And what do freaking Wing Chun people avoid like the plague? Standards. They avoid standards. Why go through and learn the Siu Nim Tao properly with the form from a proper qualified Sifu when you can teach it to yourself on YouTube? Why actually learn step by step how to do single arm chi sao, how to throw a punch, how to step, how to defend things coming at you, when you could just go and cobble a bunch of drills together from YouTube University and throw it into your current martial arts practice, or do it a couple times and say that you now teach Wing Chun? Why have to go through all of the steps to earn learning the second form and what you learn there in terms of why do you have to earn the right to learn the second? Because you need to have learned the first form to a certain standard. It's not about secret shit. It's not about holding stuff back. It's about, if you're learning the Chum-Kyu form, you have to at least not suck this much at the first thing you learn. And what do Wing Chun people want to get away with? They want to get away with someone saying, your first form sucks, your stance sucks, your basic footwork sucks, you can't stop a punch, you're not ready for Chum-Kyu. People don't want to be told that. All right? Damn. So, yeah, but there's no ranking in Kung Fu and Chinese martial arts or Wing Chun. I can go around, teach myself a bunch of stuff, and then if I can pantomime a Chum-Kyu form and throw up a video of me doing it, and anyone criticizes my shitty Chum-Kyu, I could say, but this is a different variation. This is different from what you learned. There are no standards. If I do a drill and my drill looks wonky because I taught it to myself from YouTube University and I get criticized, yeah, well, bro, this is how we do. This is our take on the drill, and you're looking at it from like your side, and like maybe you don't understand what's going on here. It's to avoid someone saying what you're doing is not correct.
That looks like
all right,
trash.
especially someone, because outside lineages will always attack you. I'm saying within your own lineage, which then brings the other sub problem. They're not from a lineage because they taught themselves.
No, they're from the YouTube University.
They're from
lineage.
YouTube University, right? They're Sifu YouTube.
Yeah.
All right?
Alma mater.
Yes. So the problem is, when you really look down at all this ridiculous butthurt about a ranking system, the superficial shit is not to be like karate, which they think is beneath them. That stuff's Japanese and Okinawan anyway. Man. But it's that they don't like to be told this. Look, there are I've had it. Look, I've been teaching for over 20 years. Okay? Once or twice, someone has left my school, perhaps prematurely, or they've left the school from my partner, like one of my partner school students, at a very low level of Wing Chun, and they disappear into the ether for 6 months and come back with a Sifu title all on their own. All right? Because it was too difficult to get it in the real school.
Oh, damn.
But they can go away for a little bit, let people forget about them, and then they can rise like the phoenix on fire, and they're now a Sifu. Just happened recently. Someone whom I forgotten existed. All right. Wow. And again, I'm not trying to use this podcast as a platform to bully anyone, which is why I'm not going to say his name. God. But someone who had left one of my students' schools years ago and was a nobody when he left my student school is now claiming to be a Sifu with his own school and is asking, and his own students are asking to like come to our seminars. And now I found out, it's like, well, I mean, we generally have open seminars. Well, I don't really have open seminars in my school because it's a capacity thing. Between my own students, if I do a summer ITC, I have to.
Your students come first.
Yeah, my students come first, and I have 5 slots in my ITC, which I open for people who are not part of our association. So I do open my like intensive training camp to people who are not part of City Wing Chun, but I can only put 5 slots on there because my priority is teaching my own dudes.
Yeah.
Right. And those 5 slots from the outside Wing Chun schools, they fill up right away, and the rest of it is all people within our association because they come first. They're our guys, right? And so one of our partner schools is also doing such a thing. They have like a seminar where they have, X number of people from outside can come in. And one of the people is like, I'm from Sifu so-and-so. And then they sent it to me like, who is this guy? And I looked and I'm like, I think that's a dude who like got kicked out of one of like our partner schools years ago. And that guy was like a lowly Chumkyu level student or something like that. And now he's a Sifu.
Oh, snizzle
all right.
pop.
So again, like, hide in the outskirts.
I know who this person is.
No, you don't. You don't know who this person is because this person was not.
Wow.
No, because the person wasn't even a blip on the radar when they were around.
Wow.
All right, they were like a dude in the background. As the Chinese say, "KFG."
KFG.
An extra, a movie, a TV extra, a TVB extra.
Oh,
all right.
No.
And now, because if you have to go through things step by step, I was having this conversation with Barry. He was talking about when, he's training with me back in the day, and he was like, wow, I didn't even get to teach until like, I had been through all of this training, been through all these fight classes, it was like old school City Wing Chun, had done all this stuff. And like he had to work his way up to even start teaching beginners.
I can't tell you how many times I had my ass handed to me.
Yeah.
Like just to get a black shirt.
Yeah, just building yourself up, right? But the problem is nowadays people don't want to be told like, you're not ready. Mm-mm. All right, because inside I feel like I'm ready. Okay, but it's not about what you feel. All right, it's about whether you can fight these dudes coming at you for 3 minutes nonstop, right?
Yeah.
And so the problem is that sometimes when people don't like a high standard of quality. All right, they will peace out, go to YouTube University, take a couple private lessons from some guy who claims to be something or whatever, and then add a little sprinkle fairy dust, and lo and behold, you're a Sifu, right? Okay, now mind you, when I say this, okay, because so far I've been very much in defense of ranking systems in as far as they represent a standard of quality. Okay, of course. There's another side to that equation as well.
Is where
we all know that they're McDojos.
50 Shades of Grey come in.
Yeah, well, we all I'm still on the black and white.
Still in
tip.
black and white. Okay.
Because the counter argument when I say about ranking systems allowing there to be some standard of quality, and I'm using ranking systems in the vaguest sense. All right. Getting a certificate that says you have completed this, even if you don't have a different uniform, could be considered a type of rank, right? You know what I mean? I've completed the Chumkyu level in my school. I've completed the Buji level in my school. Okay, you're not wearing a uniform or a special sash or something, but even that could be some kind of ranking system. Okay, I'm talking about the guys who just want to go Wild West and don't want anyone telling them that they're wrong, and want to be able to go to YouTube University and teach themselves all this shit. I'm talking about when those guys criticize ranking systems. We have the it's too karate-like. It's not even Chinese, bro, right? And then usually their other line of when I tell them like, well, ranking systems can represent a high level of quality if they represent standards, and maybe the thing you don't like is standards, right? And also the ranking system doesn't have to be a belt. It could be a cert. It could be a uniform. It could be a shirt. It could be something, right? And what they usually then push back on when they realize like the quality thing doesn't work in their favor is then they start to point, because people always point to the worst of someone else's arguments and prop up the best of theirs. So let me now say what's on the negative side of ranking systems, which we all know. McDojos.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And McDojos, I don't
damn.
just mean karate schools. I mean even like Wing Chun schools and that gift ranks and stuff like that. And this shit happens in Hong Kong, all right? There's a very famous Sifu in Hong Kong. Well, not very famous, but well-known. Who, you go to him as a brand new beginner, and in 6 months, he'll give you a Sifu title and tell you can open a school. Okay? And that is an egregious abuse of certificates and rank. All right? Yeah, come to me and I'll sprinkle pigs. Can you imagine? Imagine even if you trained every single day for 6 to 8 hours. In 6 months, I could probably teach someone in 6 months, if they train like an absolute maniac, how to defend themselves, how to defend punches, give them a good base, how to do some things to get them started. But would that person have enough experience in 6 months to be a Sifu?
Damn.
And also, how would you then feel good about yourself going, now I'm going to open a school. These students are presumably going to learn from me, let's say, for a few years. And I'm going to drag out in a few years what I got in 6 months? This is also a counter argument to people think that they can teach themselves. Bro, you taught yourself from a video, just like Yip Man never did. All right?
Yeah, right.
And now you think you're on equal footing with people who actually learn from a proper qualified Sifu and put in the sweat equity and suffer the busted lips and busted noses and strains and all this kind of stuff at the hands of someone who's saying you still don't have it right until the one day they got it well enough to start helping other people. But you found the shortcut by going to YouTube, or by finding some dude who'll give you a quick and easy, cheap certificate signed in crayon. I mean, like, come on, all right?
Damn, bro.
And then go, yeah, but what about all the McDojos where you just pay for your rank? Yeah, okay, but that's an abuse of the ranking system. That is not the vision of the ranking system I'm holding up. All right, I'm not talking about, they show up and then you just give them an instructor certificate for having a pulse, or as a participation trophy.
Okay.
All right? No. I'm talking about like certain ranks, especially higher level ranks or technician ranks
This
in
stuff
WT or
happens.
instructor ranks. Those need to be earned. And you can't say, yeah, but the McDojo on the school giving 8-year-old kids a black belt shows you why ranking systems are bullshit. And then I'm going to be like, then I'm going to show you Gary Tonin as a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's also a black belt. Is it not a false equivalency to say that the school that shamelessly awards black belts to 8-year-olds is on the same level as, say, Gary Tonin, a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Tom DeBlas?
Yeah.
Is this really an apples comparison?
Damn.
Okay?
Shouldn't be.
Or someone who earned their black belt in Kyokushin Kai Karate from a proper traditional Kyokushin school under the standards set forth by Maso Yama? Is that on the same par as the buckle sticks karate giving little Johnny a black belt after 3 years?
Okay.
It's a false equivalency, all right? This is not the argument. This is not the knockdown argument they think it is, right? Or the kung fu school that does award colored sashes, and every time you learn to form, you get another colored sash. Okay, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a ranking system that stands for a level of quality within the style. Whether that just means that you get a certificate, like you finish the Sunam Tao curriculum, let's say. I'm not talking about WT. And you get a Sunam Tao certificate that says you've learned it to a degree of competency. And then maybe you get a Chumkyu one, and then a BUG one, and then a dummy one, or whatever. So someone has taught you something, looked at what you've done over time, and said, yeah, it's not bad. It's good enough to help someone else. Here's a cert. That is a ranking system.
Okay.
It's not just the belts. It's not just the uniforms. It's not just the shirts. In WT, we arguably give a little bit of both. You get a cert and a uniform upgrade, right? Okay? So the idea of using little Johnny getting a black belt at age 7 while he's still wiping snot with his karate gi sleeve, okay? And then somehow saying that that's the knockdown argument why ranking systems are bullshit is also a very spurious argument, okay?
Damn.
So if we're going to talk about ranking systems in Wing Chun, then we need to talk about it in a more bulletproof form, okay? If we have high standards, then let your ranking system stand for high standards. Why don't we look more at the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu model of earning belts instead of the kiddie karate?
What is their model?
Well, even that is a subject for debate.
Okay.
You know, within different Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools, they have different standards. But in general, and there are exceptions, if you trained your ass off, it would take you 10 years to get a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu if you trained your ass off. Now, there's some schools might take you 15 years. Mm-hmm. And there's some people might have taken them 20 years, but that's just because it took them 20 years to get it, right? But whereas you could get a black belt in most karate styles in 3 to 5 years, depending on the style. And I'm not saying that you would be unqualified if you trained because a black belt in certain karate styles, in karate, many black belts just mean you've learned or mastered the basics. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if you get a black belt, you're a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right? So I mean, you might almost say that like a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu might be comparable to a 5th Dan rank or Shodan or Choda, whatever they call it.
Okay.
A 5th degree black belt in Kyokushin.
Okay.
Which would be considered, for all intents and purposes, a master. Whereas they're maybe not considered a master for the first couple Dan ranks. And that's, by the way, very similar to our Wing Chun ranking system.
Yeah.
You're not a master when you're a technician.
No.
All right?
No,
it's not until you're a much higher level technician.
Kind of good at the basics.
Yeah, this just means you learn the basics.
Yeah.
We use a more karate model in that a technician level in WT where you get the stripes on your pants, you have the black uniform, whatever. That just means you learn the first 2 forms and you've learned the basics. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean you're the baddest motherfucker to ever do WT.
No.
That just means you learn the first 2 forms and its contents. All right? And maybe you could do it somewhat okay, right? Mm-hmm. But as you upgrade within the style, you're going to be doing it better and better and better. It's not like you are finished with it and you don't come back to it, right? It's just a standard for a certain degree of competency, right? In WT, you're not considered a master, and I really hate that term, but you're not considered a master until you're like a 4th or a 5th level, which is very comparable to the karate style of ranking, right? Where you're considered a master kind of at that 5th Dan level or whatever, right? But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they might not call you a master because you're a black belt, but I think in terms of the skills, it would be much more comparable to someone who's kind of a master in karate in terms of like their understanding of it, because it's very difficult to get a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And there's a lot of debate in it. By the way, when I say that, that's not an uncontroversial statement. I mean, there are Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools now that are giving away black belts quicker. And by the way, there are people like BJ Penn who got that. I think he got his black belt in like 3 years.
Okay.
But he was like a phenom. And he got his black belt in 3 years in the old school days when it took you like 15 years to get a black belt. So that just shows you how good BJ Penn was, right? I'm not talking about like someone who, went to a McDojo that now teaches Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and has a black belt. That's a little bit different, right? They do have, if you see someone walking around with a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu,
with it on.
With it on the streets,
clothes,
you could probably put some money on Vegas
holding up his pants.
That, if you try to grab this person or whatever and you're don't know anything about Jiu-Jitsu, you might be in trouble, right?
Damn.
So that's why there's also false equivalencies. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu people make this all the time between a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a black belt in karate, right? They're not the same. Mm-hmm. You can also get a black belt in judo much more quickly than you can in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has decided, whether it was whichever Gracie had implemented it that way, that black belt really is really a high bar, okay? And that means when you have multiple degree black belts within Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that means that you've put in a lot of time since becoming a black belt, which in and of itself is a very high bar. Mm-hmm. So I would say while we don't necessarily have to adapt the belt system within Wing Chun, I would say having something closer to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu model, ranking system-wise, might actually be the thing that Wing Chun kind of needs in general to get it out of this hole of people who taught themselves from YouTube being on the same level as
How did they get a black belt? YouTube University dudes.
I think that you just send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Ashida Kim.
Okay.
You know our boy Ashida Kim, that fake ninja, right?
I love Ashida Kim.
Well, he got in trouble a little bit on some of those, I don't know, maybe those subreddit pages.
Yeah.
Because Ashida Kim back in the day, so, he's a kind of a phony ninja, right? He's some freaking white dude from Florida.
I never knew
He's a white dude from Florida with the name Ashida Kim, not realizing it's half Japanese, half Korean. Ashida Kim, it was the 80s. Like, you can get away with a lot of,
that's
that kind of shit back in the day, right?
We've got to remember to read his book, The Amorous Adventures.
We do, and I've just been going through my old books.
Yeah.
I have a new bookshelf, so I've been organizing my books. And I came across, actually, The Amorous Adventures of Ashida Kim is on my floor right now.
Oh,
excellent.
ready.
And everyone who's kind of visited my partner is like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Because the cover is quite racy.
Oh,
we need to
gotta
go in
see
and
it.
do a reading of it for an episode.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
bring it in, and I'll do a chapter every episode.
Yeah, but you got to do it in really like RP.
Don't worry. I'm gonna.
Yeah,
really
you got to
dig
read
deep
it like you're
into my
reading like,
theatre
fine
background.
Shakespeare.
don't
And you
worry,
could be in the
let's go.
background and say, he's a Shakespeare.
He's
Straight out of I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
Yes.
All right. So anyway, yeah, we'll definitely do that, right? But anyway, like Ashida Kim had this thing where if you sent him like I don't know, $50 or something like that to his PO box in
All right.
butt crack Florida, swamp ass Florida, you send your $50 and a self-addressed stamped
Swamp-ass
envelope.
Florida.
He'll send you a black belt and a certificate in whatever style you send it in. And some MMA dudes, I think on like the Bullshido site or something, like way back in the day, they clowned him and then they sent certificates or they sent like a request to have a black belt in MMA, which in and of itself, it's a sport. It's not a style where you have,
wow.
you don't get a black belt. You could have a black belt in Brazilian
belt in
Jiu-Jitsu,
MMA.
or some kickboxing schools might have a black belt, right?
And they got a black belt back?
And then these guys just went there just to see if this fraud would send them a certificate saying that they were black belts in MMA, and lo and behold,
That's what they got.
that's what they got.
They earned it.
They earned it from Ashida Kim
wow.
and $50.
Hey everyone, just want to let you know Wing Chun Illustrated is now offering a paperback edition through Amazon, reaching a larger global market. And no, they're not ditching the glossy magazine edition through MagCloud. You can now simply choose the version of this magazine you prefer and the one with the cheapest shipping wherever you live. Order your copy of Wing Chun Illustrated today across 12 Amazon marketplaces with free shipping for Prime members. Go and check that out.
So the other thing that I think hasn't really been touched on, that I've been kind of listening to everything that you were saying, is that like when it comes to the ranking system, first of all the other stuff just smacks of like scenester nonsense and like elitism.
Yes.
That sounds like all of my old club friends with their like small underground like nightclubs where they don't want anyone to come and bitch. They never come, right?
Oh, right.
But it's like
The
the
after
thing about
hours.
a ranking system is that like it doesn't also takes into account that people want to know that they're progressing.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna get to all that. Like right now, the main thrust of this episode is I wanted to take
The
down
black and the white.
the black and white thing, and like the kind of the things that Kung Fu and Wing Chun people think are the knockdown arguments against ranking systems. And then I'm going to discuss why it's actually a good thing, because that was also embedded into Topher's question.
Yeah, it's just that whenever anything's come out, when you talk about going back to Reddit, it's like these things aren't discussions, or they start off as a discussion for the first like 10 comments, and then it's like
it devolves into a bucket of hot flaming dog shit.
Yeah, it's not a discussion, so it's like it doesn't really count, does it?
No, it doesn't count. I mean, in general,
bad.
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing like with the YouTube comments, like which most of the people who comment here on YouTube they're pretty cool or whatever. But every once in a while, we get like really like weird people who want to fight with other people in the comments, which is sometimes okay. It helps the algorithm.
Yeah.
But recently, I had to actually block someone who was a long time commenter on our podcast because
who was
he's
that?
just straight up. I'm not gonna say.
Come
I'll tell you
on.
after the podcast.
All right.
Because he was just straight up getting abusive with other people there, like oh, your Wing Chun sucks or whatever, and no profile photo, fake name. Go to the profile, absolutely no information, no videos of himself, no photos of himself, but says all this stuff. And then I pushed back on him, and I said, like, you're kind of being, an abusive prick here. going after someone on my YouTube channel that I like. And then he commented back that I'm sometimes snarky in the comments. And I'm like, have you ever watched our podcast? If I throw shit at you, and I throw shit at you, even though I'm also your martial arts teacher, but when we're doing the podcast, we're all just bros. But after I beat the shit out of you for the things you tell me on the podcast and the shit you talk to me, right? But the thing is, that's part of being in the club is you throw shit at each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this guy was like, well, you've been snarky to me and you're giving me anxiety. And I'm going, wait a minute. I called him out on his bullying of someone else and he pulled the victim card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? An anonymous dude with no profile photo, no real name, nothing on his profile to tell you anything, was telling people, he told the same guy, not only was his Wing Chun poor, because he had seen some videos of this guy and his Wing Chun is not poor, but he had also said, oh, you really always have something to say on here, don't you? And he comments literally all the time, and someone else comments a lot, and he takes issue with the other guy commenting, calls his Wing Chun shit, bullies this guy. I call him out on it, and pulls the victim card that I give him anxiety because a couple times on YouTube I told him, bro, you shouldn't take this stuff too seriously. You should spend some time off of YouTube, and the comment world is not the real world. This is not how people actually talk to each other face to face. And because of that, he pulled the victim card, and I just freaking blocked him. I don't need this bullshit.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't need this bullshit on my
think I know
channel.
exactly
You know
what
what I
you're
mean?
talking about.
Needed his safe space.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's a safe space for you to talk shit to other people. And when you get called for talking shit, you play the victim card when you have like literally done nothing but talk shit about other people. The reason why I occasionally block people is because I don't need conversations devolving into that.
Yeah.
Although it is kind of bad for the algorithm because when people talk all that shit, that helps it up. But the other thing is, sometimes my daughters come on this YouTube channel and they take a look. And I don't want them reading your mess, reading the fact that you're so fucking insecure. You need to tell other people that their Wing Chun is bad while doing nothing by being a do-nothing bitch yourself.
Well,
Out of here.
I think people misunderstand the difference between being snarky and being a prick.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you get snarky with people and it's a bit of fun and it's all like that, and then someone comes in and just starts straight out bullying.
Yes.
It's not being snarky.
No, that's not being snarky, right?
It's being a prick.
Yeah, or putting in comments, talking shit about someone's technique online and then saying, oh, no, I was just joking around. When you get called out for being a bully, no, that's not what it was. We see what that was. You know what I
You
mean?
should bend your leg more, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's walking it back. You know what I mean? And that's the reason why I'm like, most of the people who comment on our YouTube, they're like into it because these are long form podcasts. This isn't short form, clickbait bullshit, which would get me a lot more money. This is like, you got to sit and invest some time to listen to this. So usually the people who comment are people who invested some time, right? So it's usually a little bit more constructive, even if people don't agree with me. I'm okay with people not agreeing with me. Someone disagreed with me on me saying that the first Yip Man movie was good. I was like, hey man, all your points in here are fine.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a problem with disagreement. It's just when you decide to get all bitchy about it and you get abusive and you're hiding yourself. And people would be like, yeah, well, your name's not Kung Fu Genius either. Yeah, but you can go to the profile and it says Alex Richter. My name is in the description of every video.
Okay.
Big picture of you on the front of every video and on your profile.
Exactly. Very easy to find out who I am on all my handles, on everything. And the theme song literally has my name in it. Okay? So it's like this, it's just like it's all these false equivalencies. When people get caught bullying, then they always try to find something, especially the anonymous thing. If you're going to bully or attempt to bully people on my channel, have the balls to do it under your name.
You remember what happened to that other bully?
Which one?
The one that I slapped?
Talking about Dyson.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was his name.
Oh, I love that. That was his name.
That was
That
his
was his
name. Yeah,
name.
that one that I slapped.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that video.
Yeah, but
Poor
Dyson
guy.
had good sense of humor about it. We still let well, actually, no, you still let lots of his questions in.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
And that's,
but-
by the way, let's be honest. That's the real reason I stopped doing AMAs from YouTube. Because one thing I know about Dyson, that motherfucker broke his shit, doesn't support us on Patreon. Not even for $5.
He ain't-
All right?
he ain't
So that
getting in
means
that
we,
route.
that means
He
we
ain't
never
getting
have to answer a
Right.
Dyson question again.
You just
know. He
jinxed it. You totally
He
just
might.
jinxed it.
He might
Ain't happening.
become a patron.
Ain't happening.
He might
Because you
become
know
a
what? I
patron
will
'cause of
kill
that.
that shit moving forward. There were some people that left us because of Dyson. I'll just let you know.
Oh god damn.
All right. Yeah, you lost this view. Sorry, Dyson lost his
Dyson.
views. All right.
Dyson.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay. So having like talked about what Kung Fu and Wing Chun people think are the knockdown arguments against ranking systems,
Right.
let me talk about what some of the reasons why you might have one. And like I said, there's a lot of things that would fall under the rubric of ranking system. Could just be a certificate, could be a uniform, could be a sash, could be a belt, could be a shirt. All right. So I mean that in a very vague, like a ranking system could take many different forms. All right. It could just be okay, maybe you don't have certificates for all the different forms in Wing Chun or the levels of competency, but maybe you have an instructor certificate when you feel someone is qualified enough to be an instructor. So one day you go in front of your small class and you say, hey everyone, so-and-so is now qualified to be an instructor. Here's a certificate, or you make a big deal out of it because it's not something that happens often because you're from one of those we only talk with our hands schools, right?
Yeah.
And so getting that instructor certificate is some, big dick energy in your
Oh
school,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And you make a big deal, you present that certificate, and now that person is also qualified to teach in your school. Okay, that is also a form of ranking system. We're not just talking about belts, bro. Sashes. I'm not going to wear a sash.
Headbands.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we went through that weird phase of City Wing Chun where it was colored headbands were the ranking system that only lasted for a few months.
A lot of sort of Motley Crue was being played in the background.
Yes,
I love
yes,
that.
yes.
I love that.
But like Mikey Deane said, when he otherwise so unceremoniously interrupted me, and it's just kidding. All right.
How
Dre.
dare you? He's not kidding.
All right. So anyway, but he makes a very good point. One of the great things, especially when you attempt to teach, I'm going to say commercially, and that is also another word that people get butthurt about, because it's like, yo, real Kung Fu, the teacher shouldn't earn any money, should be broke as shit and have a normal 9-to-5 job that he hates.
Wow.
There's also like that whole weird thing, right? You're qualified, you're the guy who learned all that stuff, but you somehow shouldn't earn a living doing it because then you're selling it out,
yeah.
right?
You're a sellout.
It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit, right? So yeah, I'm selling out doing this
Selling out,
podcast
yeah.
for pocket change, all right, for coffee money,
Sell
right?
out seminars. You're
Yeah.
selling out.
That's right. So anyway,
Sold out. Oh.
But what Mikey said is, students who do this, especially with a system like Wing Chun, which it's like, we don't have a lot of forms like the other styles, and the curriculum is about incremental improvements as opposed to like wholesale, or now you're going to learn this thing and now suddenly you know a bunch of stuff, right? It's like about these little incremental improvements. It's kind of nice to, along the way, to have some kind of marker for the fact that you're making progress, all right? And the highly motivated people who don't require that would still thrive under a ranking system anyway. Because there are people like, I don't need a certificate or belt to tell me whether I'm getting better, just my Sifu, gives me a wink and says like, yeah, you do good, like that's enough for me, yeah. But you could still have a ranking system and still be that guy, okay?
right.
But now you also have a certificate or a shirt or something that says, yeah, not only, you are the guy who, I don't care about ranks. I think anyone who's in a school ultimately should not, even if your school has a ranking system, it should never be about the ranks. It should be about the knowledge, it should be about the skill, and most importantly, it should be about the journey.
Yeah.
And it should be about the enjoyment and being here now. The ranking system just says, hey, you put in some time, you learn something, you're at a certain degree of competency, here's a reward for the time you put in. That's not the reason why you do it, but it's recognition. And this doesn't mean now that you're the baddest motherfucker to ever learn the Chum Q form because you have a certificate that says you learned the Chum Q form.
Oh man.
It just means now you're ready to learn something new.
Okay.
And this doesn't mean that you can stop GSP's takedown. It just means that you
Yeah.
learn the Chum Q to a degree that doesn't give me cataracts. All right? The way that the wires give Mikey Deane cataracts. All right?
Right.
Yeah. All right? That's why he's got to go back to his country to get health care because all
Yeah.
the cataracts he gets from the
Oh,
things he
shit.
sees, right? So, it's a sign of, hey, you're making some progress. Congrats. You're now on to this thing, right? It also sets the benchmark. All right, I want to learn this. I want to learn the dummy, but before I learn the dummy, I got to learn Chumkyu, I got to learn BUG. So you learn the Chumkyu, learn these things, you get something. Hey, now I'm part of the way there.
Allows you to set goals.
Yes, and the opposite of that, the McDojo ranking system is not what we're talking about here.
Nah, dude.
We're talking about having a robust ranking system built on standards, whether the standard is just an instructor certificate or anything else. But if you have a high standard, the ranking system is the only meaning it has is the meaning that the instructor gives to it based on the standards they attribute to it. So the ranking system is assigned for, quality and achievement, and normal people, not the people who are self-motivated, which statistically I don't think is the highest number of people. They need these things. These are benchmarks, and these make people feel good. And especially if you attribute a high level of quality to it or a high bar, then it actually really means something. And then when they accomplish it, it really means something.
Makes
By the
them
way,
feel good.
I've had students leave because they couldn't quite make that bar, or they thought that they were going to get this rank in a certain amount of time, and I felt that they needed to put in a little bit more time, and maybe they didn't agree with me, and then they left. So occasionally, if you have a high bar of a ranking system, you might occasionally lose some people. Okay. But that's, first of all, very, very rare, because your school is a community. People get along. People get the vibe after a while. I'm saying it's happened 3 times in 22 years, right? Okay. But I don't lose sleep at night because 3 students in 20-something years left me because they thought they were qualified for a rank that they weren't, because the rank has to mean something within the school, right? Otherwise, it's meaningless, right? If the ranking system has a high bar, then it actually means something, and people can feel proud when they get it, right? So, and there's just the general motivation, right? Our ranking system, we have 12 student levels before you become a technician, and that maybe seems like a lot. But if you actually count, for example, the various belt system, say you only have 6 belts in your style, but they usually have the stripes in between before you get the next one. So if you start counting those things, you start getting past 12 very quickly, right? But the idea is that those lower level ranks, while you're going through the Sunamtao and the Chumkyu, those are bite-sized steps on your journey. Those are not huge exams. The big exam in WT is when you get the black shirt, or when you get a technician or something like that. And for that, we would hold a very high level of standard, right? And so my advice to someone starting a school is there should be something, all right? Maybe it's in Wing Chun, you don't have to have a full bore 12 student levels and then technician levels, and then at the different levels you learn this. It could be a lot more broad strokes than that, but it could even be something like Sunamtao level. So a student that has only learned Sunamtao and has not learned Chumkyu, maybe they wear a white shirt. Okay, and maybe when they start learning the Chumkyu and they start learning all the Chisao and all the other stuff, they wear a blue shirt, right? Okay. And then once they learn BUG, they got the green shirt. Whatever it is, something simple like that. Maybe it's just a certificate. Maybe it's a sash. Maybe it's a belt. But if you can give the student the feeling that they've achieved something by having earned something that required them to push themselves a little bit, it can be very meaningful. Now, does having a rank mean that you're the baddest motherfucker? This is another common complaint. Yeah, I don't care what rank you have in Wing Chun, WT, whatever, I'm gonna smash you or whatever. Hey, look, there are black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu who've been smashed by people who are just strikers. Okay. Does that now nullify that person's rank in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Does that now nullify what it means to be a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? No. If a high level striker gets taken down and strangled or whatever, does that nullify their black belt in their striking art? Okay. No. It just means that when you put this guy versus this guy in a fighting contest, that other guy did better. All right, because that guy was able to pool their skills and resources in a way where they were able to overcome the other person. Yeah. Because, spoiler alert, when 2 people fight, it's not this guy from this representing this style with this rank versus this guy representing this style from this rank. It's 2 people. All right, it's about the person who's the best prepared in that situation, the most adaptable, the one with the best game plan, or the strongest fighter. Okay, and that is often independent of rank, which is a standard of knowledge and quality within a certain style. It is not a standard of badassery all around in every aspect of every game that pertains to martial arts, right?
Okay.
So again, when people who want to attack ranking systems, what they often do is they use these absolute arguments. Yeah, well, they don't care if you call yourself a technician or a black belt, whatever. Like, this guy would come in and kick the shit out of you or whatever. Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about this person's individual journey within the art and having these little waypoints that make them feel that they've achieved something. We're not saying that these waypoints now somehow imbue you with the ability to be impervious to bullets and punches and strikers and takedowns.
Right.
All right, that's not what we're talking about.
No.
It's the people who put these unrealistic expectations on ranking systems that then make it fall down when all a ranking system is just a measure of quality within a certain skill or within a certain style, all right?
Okay.
If you had a university diploma that says you have a bachelor's in a certain topic, does that mean you're the most qualified person in that topic? No. If you have a bachelor's degree in chemistry, all right, are you able to now go toe-to-toe with people who have a PhD in chemistry? Or with people who have used their chemistry degree to go on to do things that are beyond even what other doctors in chemistry
Unless
have?
they're like the chemistry genius.
The chemistry genius, right? But that's the same idea. It's like what we're saying is like maybe a technician level in Wing Chun or a black belt or a black sash or whatever is like having a bachelor's degree in your style. That doesn't mean you're on par with the PhDs yet, but it means that you've gone through something and you have a certain bar. And I think that that's a fair way to look at it. Plus, students appreciate being shown along the way that they're making progress. And the dudes who don't need that, the dudes who just talk with their hands, bro.
Yeah.
Well, if they're in a school that has a ranking system, they can still just talk with their hands and make it all about this. But they also get rewarded along the way. All right? And that's all I got to say about that. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Kung Fu Genius. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the Kung Fu Genius. Hit that bell for notifications. If you have any ideas for a future episode, go ahead and write those in the comments below. Don't forget to support us on Patreon. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.
Word is I'm a kung fu genius. Technique speaks for me, not lineage. Forget Jet Li, cause I'm the one. Many call me seafood, but to you I'm sea gung. And I produce masters. You surpassed us. Your kung fu stiffer than corpse and caskets. City Wing Chun is the house I built. Violate the gate and your blood gets spilt. Alex, Richter, always the victor.
When you go to the bathroom, European. All right, so here we go. Dre's got 3.
I'm almost European.
All right.
I'm almost European, though.
All right, so here we go.
Just not in the bathroom all the time.
Okay,
So-
before you carry on, there's something that's giving me cataracts,
Yes.
right?
What's
Can I
that?
just undo this so that's cable? It's not going across your face like that.
It's not going across my face
It's not
on
your
the
face,
video.
but it's going across the air. Can it be seen?
It really can't be seen because of the black background, and then it kind of hides under here. It bothers you,
Oh
though?
man, it's giving me such
Jesus, what a...
all the way. Here we go. Much better.
Relief.
If you watch the early episodes of this podcast, you didn't hear a peep from this dude.
True.
And now in the middle of the
True.
episode, he decides to cut. We're in like 15 minutes in. I barely
he spoke
even
more
got
than
another
us.
question. And this dude's on here pontificating.
Mad
like
in the stretch.
Yeah. Getting me
said it
OT
10
off topic
times.
on stuff. So anyway, are you okay? Can I go? May I continue?
You may.
All right.
Yes.
I'm glad I have permission from the fucking sound guy.
The sound guy.
Making comments on the visual side of this podcast.
Yes.
That's normally the video guy's job over there.
Yeah, well, he's on Ohio.
Or
We
the
can't-
DP,
Yes.
Donkey puncher.
No.
director of photography,
Hello?
sir. May I continue? Let me just finish the whole thing about
Can you double penetrate it?
Andrew's going to be very busy this episode. He's not going to be very happy. He can't just use his automatic machine that like edits this episode. It's like, oh God, I got to go in and actually do F-bombs and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, no.
He does his awesome Hong Kong vlogs. Everything looks like it looks like something
I
out of a
haven't seen it
CNN.
yet,
You
but I
haven't
gotta
seen it. I can
check
send
it.
you links. They're
I gotta
amazing,
check
right?
it.
He edits this podcast and lets all sorts of shit slip. All right, holy shit. All right, so
He's the
anyway,
DMer.
coitus interruptus here, right? Okay, so
Yes, sir. Carry on.
what's the time, Mikey?
You can carry on without me.
Okay, but I need you to close that curtain you so unceremoniously opened.
Carry on.
I feel like
Oh my God, he's doing like
Benny
the
Hill
full
show.
no, like he's doing like the Full Metal Jacket trading, like
Yeah.
going underneath. All right, Private Pile, you ready?
Wow.
So anyway, are you done interrupting me, you son of a bitch?
Maybe.
Andrew's gonna have so much editing and outtakes and
yeah.
like f bombs and
gonna
bleeps
be-
and everything like
it's
that.
gonna be the best
and this
one
was an
yet.
episode on ranking systems.
So I'd just like to.
For fuck's sake, can I do the outro
Yeah, you
here?
can do the outro, but can you just take a look at how he's been sitting for the last like 20 minutes?
I know he's
This has
sitting
been-
like he's like what do they call that? Reverse cowgirl?
Literally just did
And it would
this.
be fine if he was just doing like this, but then he was.
I
like,
was
his
inspired by the
elbow
way
was
you
on
were
the thing,
sitting.
Just was
Yeah.
like, hey, look at
And
me.
you know the
It's
great
like-
thing about this conversation?
inspi-
There's no camera on how you're sitting, and there's no camera on this guy while he explains how you were sitting. So all of this is just the outtakes of this episode is going to be like 15. It's gonna be longer than the actual episode itself.
No, you see,
calling
the
it-
thing about it is now there is some camera of how he's sitting because I am recording you.
Okay, and you're gonna send,
Recording
and he's gonna send
you?
this. No, and he's gonna send this to Andrew.
Yeah.
To splice it in the man, this episode you can make an Andrew work on this episode here.
Damn right. Oh, and can we just add in somewhere, Andrew, that Topher's podcast is called That Other Wing Chun Guy?
Oh, that other wing, yeah, makes sense.
Because it makes perfect sense, of course.
That's his handle. Yes. Add the other wing because we tried to figure that out, and then we went OT. Man, we went OT so many times today.
That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I
You're
blame
welcome.
Topher's question,
Yeah.
and I blame Dre,
Of course.
and I blame you for your constant interruptions.
Incontinent interruptions.
That CI action.
Yes, incontinentia.
Incontinentia buttocks.
He has a wife, you know.
All right, peeps. On today's episode of The Kung Fu Genius, the genius will be answering all nothing.